Hey everyone, welcome back to Code with Poonam. It's day 99 of our 100 days of coding challenge in JavaScript. Today's challenge is all about creating a math operations class that perform operations like square, cube, and factorial of any number. So let's proceed with this challenge and we will move towards our VS Code. If you see in the VS Code, we have here our question. What is the question? We have to write a class called as what? Math operation with property number and method get square, get cube, and get factorial to calculate and log the square, cube, and factorial of a number. So let us come down and first of all, we are going to break our question. So what is the first thing we are going to write? We will write here what class and class name is what? Math operation. So let us take this and we are going to put it over here. After that, what is the next important part? They have said that it will have a property as what? Number. So let us take this and we are going to put it over here. After that, what is the next important part? That we have to write three methods, right? That is get square, get cube, and get factorial. So let us take this and we are going to put it over here. After that, what they said that we have to calculate and log the square, cube, and factorial of a given number, right? So let us take this and we are going to put it over here. So if you see here, we have just noted down the important parts from this particular question, right? Now let us come down and we are going to write our approach, okay? So first of all, what we are going to do? We are going to define our class and our class name will be what? Math operation. So let us write it over here, our class and our class name math operation. Now, what this class is going to do, this class will help us to create what math operations object, each with a number property and methods to calculate and log the square, cube, and factorial of a given number, right? Now, let us come down and we are going to write our constructor method, correct? So let us write here what constructor method. And to that, what we are going to pass, we will be passing here number as a params, right? And what we are going to write inside this, we will be writing here this dot number is equal to number, right? So what this constructor method is doing, it is helping us to initialize the class with a number, right? So that is what we have done here. Now let us come down and we are going to write our methods, okay? So I will just write here the methods. Now what is the first method they have said? We have to write our get square method, right? So I will just take this and I'm going to put it over here and I will put here parenthesis and our flower braces, correct? Now here what we are going to do, we are going to calculate the square, right? So I'll just write here what? Calculate the square. And how we are going to calculate the square? Now to calculate the square of a number, we are going to use here what? Our exponential operator. So I will just write it over here. And what this exponential operator does, it returns the result of a number raised to a power. So here, if I have to write how I'm going to write, I will be writing here what? Our this dot number and our exponential operator and here too, because we want to calculate the square. So we will have to put here too. And what we can do, we can just store this into a variable called as a square and we can come down and we can just print this particular variable square and we will get our output, okay? Now here we can also use our math.power, okay? So if I have to tell you how we can use our math.power method, so I'll write here what? Math.power and here in this parenthesis we will pass what? Our this dot number comma 2. So if we do that, we are going to get the same output, okay? Because in this way we can here also calculate the square of a number and here also we can get the square of a number, right? So that is our get square method, correct? Now let us come down and we are going to implement our get cube method, okay? So I will just write here what? Get cube method. Now what this method is going to do, this method is going to return us the cube of a given number, right? So we will come here and what we have to do, we have to calculate the cube of a number, right? So here also we will be using what? Our exponential operator itself. Okay, so I'll just write it over here. As we know now what this operator is going to return, this operator returns the result of a number raised to a power. Okay, Now, since here it is a cube, what we are going to put? We will be putting here 3. Now, let us see what we are going to do. So, first of all, let us declare a variable called as a cube, and we will write here what? This dot number, our exponential operator, and we will write here what? 3, okay? And we will come down and we are just going to print our cube and we will get what? Our output, okay? So that is what I'm going to get it. Now, this one can also be achieved by using our math.power method, okay? So what I will write? Our math.power, and to that we are going to pass our this dot number, correct? And I will write here what? Comma, and it will be 3. So this will give me the same output as this is going to give, okay? So both the places it is going to just calculate the cube of it, okay? And we will get our final cube as an output, okay, of that particular number. So this is our get cube method, okay? Now let us come down and write our last method which we have to write. So what was our last method? We have to write our get factorial method, okay? So let us come down and we are going to write what? Our get factorial method, okay? Like this. Now what it is going to return? It is going to return the factorial of a same number, right? Here also, whatever the number we are passing it here, it will give me the square. Here it will give me the cube, and here it is going to give me the factorial of that number itself. So how do we calculate the factorial of a number? So if our number is 5, so what we are going to do here, we will write here what? 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, right? And that is where we will get the output as what? 120. So this is nothing but the 5 factorial value, okay? So if you observe what it is happening from the number till the 1 it is going, and it has to multiply, right, every time. And then we are going to get our 120 as an output. Suppose if I write here 3. So what will be the factorial of 3? We will have to write here what? 3 times 2 times of 1. So what will be the output? We are going to get here what? 6, right? So here also, if you see from this number till the 1 it is going, right? Because of that, we will be using here what? Our for loop, okay? So I will write here what? Our for loop. Now, if you observe, we have to start from 1 and we can end to that number, right? So I will write here what? Our start point will be what? 1, correct? And what will be our end point? Our end point will be nothing but our this dot number, correct? And we will have to keep incrementing it, right? So that is what we are going to do it, okay? Now, before using this loop, what we are going to do it, we will come here above and we are going to declare a variable called as a fact, and we are going to initialize it with 1. Now, why we have initialized this fact variable with 1, and why do we need this fact variable? So we need this fact variable to store our factorial value, okay? That means our final output will be stored here, and we are going to print this particular fact variable itself, okay? So we will store our final output over here. Now, why do we need this fact variable? Understood? Now, why we have to initialize this with 1? Because if you see here what we are doing, we are multiplying, right? So if you multiply a number with 1, it will remain the same, correct? But if you multiply it with 0, or if you multiply it with any other number, it is going to change, correct? So that is why we have put here what? Fact is equal to 1, because when we multiply here or here any number, it is not going to change, okay? So that is why we have initialized here with fact is equal to 1, okay? Now let us write our for loop, okay? So I will write here what? For, and in the parenthesis, what I am going to write? Let I is equal to 1, correct? And where it is going to end, I should be less than or is equal to our this dot number, right? So that is what I am going to write, and then I am going to increment it, right? So I plus plus I will be writing. Now inside this, what we have to do now? Inside this, we have to calculate the factorial, right? So I'll just write it over here. We have to calculate here the factorial. Now, how we can calculate the factorial? We will be using our fact is equal to, and we will be writing here what? Fact times of I, okay? So this is what we are going to write. And after this loop, we are just going to print our fact variable, okay? So I will write here what print fact, and that is where we will get our final output. Okay. So this is our get factorial method. Now I will come down and I am going to explain you the iteration. So I will just write here what iteration, and suppose our number is 5. Okay. So now the loop is going to start from where I is equal to 1, right? And what is our fact value? It is nothing but fact is equal to 1, right? So that also I'm going to write it. And what is the calculation we have to perform? Fact is equal to fact times of I, right? That is what we have to do. And finally, we have to print our fact. Okay. Now, since we have written everything, so we will come down and we will see our iteration. Okay. So when I is equal to 1, right, it is going to check this condition. 1 is less than or is equal to 5. So the condition is going to be what? True, right? And it will come inside and it is going to perform our calculation, right? What is the calculation it is going to do? Fact times of I, right? So that is what I'm going to write it over here. And after that, what value we are going to get here? 1 times of 1. That is nothing but 1. So what will be our fact value? We will get fact is equal to 1, right? Now it is going to increment I is equal to 2, right? And then it is going to check this condition. 2 is less than or is equal to 5. It is true, right? So it is going to increment it and it will come inside our loop also. And it is going to calculate what? Fact times of I, right? So what is our fact? Now also it is 1. So I'm just going to write here what? 1. And what is our I? It is nothing but 2. So we are going to get here what? 2. Okay. Now fact value will be what? Fact is equal to, we are going to get here as 2, right? Now we will come down and what it will become? I is equal to 3, right? And we have to do the same calculation. Why? Because 3 is less than or is equal to 5, right? It is true, correct? So it will come inside and it is going to perform the calculation. So now what is our fact value? It is 2, right? So we will write here 2, and what is our I value? 3. So what we are going to get? We will get 6, right? So what will be our fact value? It will be nothing but fact is equal to 6 we are going to get, right? Now, after that, what will happen? I will become 4. So we are going to write here what? I is equal to 4. And after that, again, we are going to perform this calculation because it is what? 4 is less than or is equal to 5. It is less only, right? That means the condition is true. It is going to increment and it is going to do the calculation also. Okay. So we will write here what? 6 times of 4, correct? And we are going to get here 24. How we are getting this? Our fact value is nothing but 6 and our I value is 4. So we will get here what? 6 times of 4 is equal to 24. And what will be our fact value then? Fact will be 24, right? So I am writing here what? Fact is equal to 24. Now after that, I will become 5, right? And still the condition remains the true because 5 is equal to 5, right? And it is going to calculate this fact times of I, and what we are going to write here? 24 times of 5, correct? And what is the output we are going to get? We will get here as 120, okay? So I'll just write here what? 120, and what will be our final fact value? It will be nothing but 120. So this is what we are going to get, okay? Now I value is still going to increment, correct? I is equal to 6. So now it is going to check the condition. So condition is what? 6 is less than or is equal to 5, right? So here the condition is going to fail, correct? And that is where our loop is going to terminate. And we will get our final output as what? Fact is equal to 120. And that is what we are going to print here as our final output, correct? So with this, we are done with our class. So after that, what we are going to do? We are going to create an instance of it, right? So I'll just write it over here. And by using what? We have to use our new keyword, right? So now we will come down and we are going to declare a variable, right? So I will write here what? Let math is equal to, I will write here new, and we are going to write our class name, right? And to this, we are going to pass our number as 5 because we have done the example with respect to 5 itself, right? Now what we will do? We will come down and what we are going to do? We will be taking this math object and we are going to call our get square method. So let us take this and we are going to write it over here like this. Now, as soon as we write this, what it is going to happen? It is going to calculate, right? And what we will get here, 5 square is what? 25, right? So that is what we are going to get. After that, what we will do? We will again take this object and we are going to call our another method, that is our cube, right? So we will take this and we will put it over here and call this. Now what we are going to get for a 5, what is a cube of that number? It is nothing but 125, right? That is what we are going to get it, okay? After that, again, I will take this math and dot, and we are going to get our another method, that is nothing but get factorial, right? So I will take this and I'm going to put it over here with a parenthesis, okay? So our number is still what? 5, and what we are going to get here? 120, right? So by writing this, we are going to get all the three outputs, that is square, cube, and factorial of that particular number, okay? So now if you see, we have successfully completed our entire approach, right? And with this, we understood how to write a class, how to write a constructor method, and how to write the other methods, right? Which were given in our question, okay? So now let us come down and we are going to implement the same thing, okay? So I will write here what? Our class, and our class name is what? Math operation, right? Flower braces. Now inside this, let us create a constructor method. So I will write here what? Constructor. And here what we are going to pass inside this, we are going to pass what? Our number, right? So I'll just write it over here number, and what we are going to write here, this dot number is equal to number, correct? So let us write our first method, that is nothing but our get square, okay? So I will just write it over here, get square method. And now inside this, we are going to use what? Our this dot number, because we have to get the square of the same number, right? So first of all, what I will do, I will declare a variable called as a square. And what we are going to do, I will write here what? This dot number and our exponential operator, right? And we will be writing here 2. Why? Because we want to calculate the square, right? And finally, what we are going to do, we are going to just print our square, okay? So I will write here what? Console.log of square, okay? And later on, we will see when we are creating an instance of it, that time we will see what output we are getting, okay? Now let us create here another method, that is nothing but what? Get cube, right? So I will just write it over here, and here also we have to use our same this dot number, right? So I will declare a variable called as a what? Let cube is equal to this dot number and our exponential operator, and we have to write here what? 3. And we are just going to console our cube, okay? So I will just write here what? Console.log of cube. If you see, we have done our both the methods, get square and get cube method. If you go above and if you see, we have done here the exactly the same by using our exponential operator, right? Now let us come down and we are going to write our get factorial method, okay? So I will just come down and let us put it over here, get factorial method, and here we have to get the factorial of a same number. So here also we have to use our this dot number, okay? Now before that, what we are going to do, we are going to declare a variable called as a fact, and we are going to initialize it with 1, okay? Now let us come down and write our for loop. So what we are going to write, let I is equal to 1, correct? And I should be less than or is equal to our this dot number, correct? And then we have to increment it, right? Now inside this flower braces, what we are going to write, fact is equal to fact times of I, right? That is what we have seen here. So if you go above and if you see, we have done the same thing, okay? And I've explained you here in the iteration also the same thing, right? That is what we are getting it. Now we have to print our fact, correct? So we will come down and outside our loop, what we are going to do, I will write here what? Console.log of fact, right? That is what we are going to get, correct? Now, if you see, we are done with our all the 3 methods and our constructor method. With this, we are done with our class, okay? Now, what we are going to do, we will come outside this and we are going to create an instance of it, right? So I will write here what? Let math is equal to our new keyword, and what we are going to write, math operations, correct? And here we are going to pass what? 5, okay? Now let us come down and call our first method, that is get square method. So I will write here what? Math.getSquare, okay? And let us see in the output what we get. So we will come here and we are going to write here what? Node 99 challenge and hit enter. If you see, we are getting what? 25. So 5 square is nothing but 25. That means this method is correctly executing. Okay. Now what we will do, I will just comment this line for a time being, and I will write here what? Again, the same variable itself. Let square is equal to, and we are going to write here what? Math dot power I am going to write. And to that we will pass what? Our this dot number first, and we will put here what? Comma, and I will write here 2. Okay. Now let us save it, and we will write here what? Node 99 challenge and hit enter. If you see, again I am getting what? 25. So using our exponential operator or using our math dot power method, we can achieve this. Okay. Now let us come down, and we are going to call our get cube method. So I will write here what? Math dot get cube. Okay. So let me write it over here. Math dot get cube, and let us come to the terminal and clear the terminal and run it. So I will write here what? Node 99 challenge and hit enter. If you see, I'm getting what? 125. So 5 cube is nothing but 125, correct? So that is what we are able to get it. Okay. Now let us come here, and I will just comment it out, and I am going to declare a same variable here called as what? Let cube is equal to, and we are going to use what? Our math dot power, and to that I will pass what? This dot number here, and I will write here what? Comma 3. Now let us test it one more time in the terminal. So I will write here what? Node 99 challenge and hit enter. If you see, I'm getting what? 125. That means it is working here as well. So we can use it with respect to our exponential operator or using our math dot power method also. Okay. Now let us come down, and we are going to call our get factorial method. So I will write here what? Math dot get factorial method, and let us come here and clear the terminal, and we are going to write here what? Node 99 challenge and hit enter. If you see, I'm getting what? 120, right? So that means our get factorial method is also working properly, right? If you are passing any other number, you are going to get the same. Okay. Now let us create one more instance, and we are going to pass the value as 7. Okay. So I will write here what? Let math1 is equal to new and math operations. Okay. And here I'm going to pass what? 7. Okay. So I will take here math1 now, and I'm going to write here what? Get square. Okay. Now let us come to the terminal and run it. So I will write here what? Node 99 challenge and hit enter. If you see, you are getting 49, right? That is what is a square of a 7, right? Now let us get the cube of that. So I will write here what? Math1 dot get cube. Okay. So let me write it over here. And now let us come to the terminal and clear it up. And I'll write here what? Node 99 challenge and hit enter. If you see, we are getting what? 343. That is nothing but our cube of 7. Okay. Now let us call our get factorial method. So I will write here what? Math1 dot get factorial. Okay. And now let us come to the terminal and run here. So I will clear the terminal, and I'll write here what? Node 99 challenge and hit enter. If you see, I'm getting what? 5040, correct? So that means we are getting the factorial of 7 also. Now let us come above and improvise our console.log statement. Okay. So we will use our template literals, and I'll put here comma. Okay. And I'll write here what? The square of this dot number. Okay. That is what I am going to write it here. So I'll write here what? Flower braces, and inside that this dot number I am going to write it. Okay. And I will just take this particular line, and we are going to put it down. Okay. And in place of square, I will put here what? Cube. Okay. Now let us come down, and here I will just put here what? Factorial. Okay. So I will put this and replace this square with what? Factorial. Okay. Now let us come and test it in the terminal. So clear the terminal and run it. So I will write here what? Node 99 challenge and hit enter. If you see, I'm getting here proper outputs, right? The square of 5, the cube of 5, the factorial of 5, the square of 7, the cube of 7, and the factorial of 7, right? So we are getting our exact output. Let us put the colon also here. So I'll just put here colon here as well. Let us add the colon, and the last here as well. So I'll just put here the colon, and now let us save it and clear the terminal and rerun it one more time. So node 99 challenge and hit enter. If you see, we are getting now very nicely the outputs, right? So if you see, we are getting our outputs, right? So that is what we wanted and we have done the same, right? Now let us go above and we will have a quick recap of this question. So what was our question? It was asked that we have to write a class called as a math operation with property number and method get square, get cube, and get factorial to calculate and log the square, cube, and factorial of a number. Then we came down and we wrote here important part of our question, correct? So we understood here what will be our class name, what will be our property, and how many methods we have to write, correct? And also we understood what we have to calculate, right? So what was our class? Our class was our math operation, right? What was our property? It was number. And how many methods we had to write? Three methods, right? Get square, get cube, and get factorial. And after that, we understood that we have to calculate the square, cube, and factorial of a number, right? Then on the basis of that, we wrote our approach, right? So we came down and we defined our class as what? Math operations. This class will be used to create math operations object, each with a number property and method to calculate and log the square, cube, and factorial of a number, right? Then we came down and we wrote our constructor, right? So this constructor method is written here to initialize the class with a number, right? And therefore we wrote what? This dot number is equal to number, right? Then we came down and we wrote our method. So what was our first method? Get square method, right? So here we calculated the square, right? Using our exponential operator also and our math.power method also, right? Then we came down and we printed our square as our output. And this was our get square method, right? Then we came down and we wrote our get cube method also. Here we calculated the cube of that particular number, right? Using our exponential operator and our math.power method, right? And then finally we printed our cube as an output and we got our final output also. So this was our get cube method, right? Then we came down and we wrote our get factorial method also, right? We understood what is a factorial and how to get a factorial, right? Then we came down and we initialized here fact is equal to 1, correct? Because we wanted to store our output, that means our factorial in this particular variable, right? And why we initialize it 1? Because if we multiply by 1, it is not going to change, right? That is why we have initialized this variable with 1, right? Then we wrote our for loop, right? And for that, we defined our start point as 1 and end point as what? This dot number. From this particular analysis, we did it, right? And then we calculated the factorial by writing here what? Fact is equal to fact times of I. And finally, we printed our fact outside our loop and we got our output. Then we came down and we understood our iterations also, right? So our I is equal to 1 and it is going to end at where? It is going to end at 5 because at 6, it is going to fail the condition and the loop is going to terminate and we will get our final output as what? Fact is equal to 120 and this is what we are going to print it, okay? Then after the class is done, we came down and we created our instance using our new keyword, right? And we called our each of the method and we got our outputs as well, right? So then we came down and we wrote our class as what? Our math operations, our constructor, and our all the three methods, right? And inside that exactly the same we have done, right? And we consoled here in both the methods get square and get cube using our exponential also and using our math.power also. And then finally at all the three places we have just improvised our console.log statements, right? Here also and here also, right? And in our get factorial method, if you see, we have initialized our fact variable with 1 and we have written here our for loop. Same case we have written as above, right? And finally, we are done with our class. And then we came here and we created our instances, right? And here we passed a value as what? 5, right? And we called our all the three methods and we saw in the output, we were getting our exact output, right? So then we came down and we created one more time the instance, right? And we passed here value as what? 7, right? And we called our all the three methods, right? And we got here our exact output also, right? Now I'll just clear the terminal and I'm going to run it one more time. So I'll write here what? Node 99 challenge and hit enter. If you see, we are getting the exact output with proper improvisation of our console.log statements, right? So that is what it was demanding, and we have done here the same. Now I will tell you guys why this challenge is important, because it teaches us how to manage the state within a class, such as using a number property to perform the calculation. It also demonstrates how to implement the methods that return computed results. It also shows how to work with the loops to calculate the factorial. So that's all guys for today. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel for more exciting content. Keep coding, keep learning and keep growing. And I will see you tomorrow with another exciting challenge. Thank you so much for watching guys. Take care. Bye bye.